Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to present to you Lexi, a variable wattage mod made by Mamu featuring power regulation by the Nivel chip. The Nivel chip comes from Russia and is made by a gentleman by the name of Alexander Inanov. I first learned about the Nivel chip when I was on a website called vapeporn.com. I saw a picture of the chip and a description of its functions, and I noticed it did things that no other electronic cigarette did. So I contacted Alex and I acquired 3 Nivel chips. I sent them to Mamu and she made a masterpiece. She made Lexi. There are 3 Lexis. One of them is mine, one of them is Mamu's, and one of them will be given away, perhaps to you. Details on the contest are forthcoming later in the video. The core functionality of the Nivel chip is to allow modders to integrate a board into it that will allow you to do power regulation either by a variable voltage, anywhere from 3 to 6 volts, or variable wattage, anywhere from 3 to 15 watts. There are other advanced features in the Nivel chip, some that are simply not available on any other electronic cigarette or board on the market. We'll go through these features in depth in just a little bit. First, I'd like to show you some pictures of the Nivel chip and of Lexi. First, here is the chip by itself. This is what it looks like when you get it. As you can see, it is actually pre-wired for the convenience of the modder. Here is the Lexi with a SmokeTech XXL cartomizer. Here she is with a 3-ohm Bogue 801 Fusion cartomizer. Same setup. Here I have some things for size comparison. This is next to a lava tube. Here we have it next to an iPhone. This is probably the best way for you to get an idea of actually just how small Lexi is. Here's Lexi next to a Bic lighter. Here's the bottom view of the Lexi. As you can see along the top, there are 3 LEDs where when you push a button, it'll actually show you your battery life as a function of low, medium, or high. At the bottom, there are 2 LEDs, which are a very, very bright flashlight, which is operational. And in the top right, a small USB plug so that you can charge it. The batteries of the Lexi are internal, 2 batteries in a parallel configuration at 1,400 milliamp hours. The device can be charged while you're using it. Here's a top view of the Lexi with a quarter for size. This is the back of the Lexi. And finally, an angle view. Now what I'm going to do is show you 3 different atomizer/cartomizers just so that you can get an idea of the performance of the device. The first atomizer I'm going to be using is a Cisco spec HH357 atomizer. It is a 901 thread at 1.5 ohms. These are available on avidvapor.com. If you're not familiar with the HH357, it is the best atomizer ever made. I have it set for 12 watts right now, and I'm going to leave it there. I'd like to illustrate one of the great features of variable wattage is that I'm going to go from a 1.5 ohm atomizer to a 3 ohm cartomizer. This is a Bogue 801 Fusion, sometimes known as a Fusion cartomizer, inside of a VPX tank from inhaler.com. Using watts, you can go between any different, for single coil atomizers and cartomizers, no matter what the resistance is. If you set it at 11 watts, or however many watts you want, you're going to have a consistent performance across different atomizers and cartomizers that have different resistances. That's because using watts, the device actually looks at your atomizer, figures out how many ohms it is, and adjusts the voltage that's going to go to the atomizer or cartomizer accordingly. So again, still at 12 watts. Here's an 801 fusion. Finally, I'd like to put on a Smoke-Tech Triple XL dual coil cartomizer. Now, dual coil cartomizers and atomizers perform very differently than single coil. For that reason, I'm actually going to increase the watts from 12 to 14 watts. So here it is, Smoke-Tech 1.5 ohm dual coil cartomizer. It performs very well on everything I've tried it with. By far the best, of course, with the HH357. No surprise. So now what I'd like to do is present to you a female's subjective impression of the aesthetics of the unit. I thought it was important to get what a girl thought. So I found a girl, her name is Lexi, and I asked Lexi, what do you think of Lexi? And this is what she said. As you can see, she was speechless. I'd like to walk through all of the features of the Nivel chip while showing how the menu system is accessed. So here we go. This is how to use the Nivel chip. Okay, this is how the operating system works on a mod that uses the Nivel chip. There are two states to the Nivel chip, on and off. The functions available in the on state are vaping, obviously, as well as power control, voltage up or down, or wattage up or down. In the off state, which it is in now, the atomizer won't fire, but it will allow you to get into the menu, which allows you to access the advanced functions. So let's go ahead and start by turning it on. You turn on the device by clicking 3 times. On, and it's telling me that my voltage is 3.7 volts. Anytime you turn it on, it'll tell you whatever your current setting is. Now, if I wanted to make it more than 3.7 volts, I can do it from this section, from the on state. 5 quick taps. I'm in the up, and I can change 3.7 volts to whatever I want. After you set the voltage, as soon as it stops blinking, it's ready to vape. I can also turn it down the same way. Now, if I turn the device off, I'll be, oh, and one more thing. When you vape, it will display on the screen here your current battery life as a graphical representation using LEDs. Right now, that means I'm about half battery. Those 3 little ticks on this side, when you have a full battery, there'll be 3 little ticks on the other side, kind of like making something that resembles a battery, I suppose. But anyway, as your battery life goes down, the LEDs will disappear one at a time from 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 to 1. 3 quick clicks will turn the unit off. It's also going to display something that's called the timer function, I suppose, which we'll talk about later. If I want to now go and change to variable wattage, I can go a few clicks, and instead of set volt, I do set power. So right there, it's set at 9.2 watts. Now if I do exit this mode and turn the unit on, it's going to tell me my power is 9.2 watts. if I want to change it. I can increase. You'll notice when it gets to 10 watts, 10.5 watts is represented by the little dot. Just like if I go to 11, 11.5 will be the little dot. So we're now set at 11.5 watts. The next function is the timer, which is, The next function is the timer, which is really interesting. It's something I thought I wasn't going to use, but I'm actually kind of obsessed with it. It's pretty cool. What the timer is doing is it's actually counting the amount of time that you are actually vaping. That is, when you're pushing the button down and delivering power to the atomizer. It keeps track of that. Every 5 seconds you do that, it adds it to its tally. It's kind of interesting because now I know exactly how much I vape in a day. I vape for 15 minutes. I thought that was a really low number, but I guess if you think of it as all coming in little 5-second bursts, I guess it makes sense. But the other really interesting thing about it is for modders, or anyone really who buys this, what you can now do is you can objectively determine how long the batteries are actually lasting in your device. Let's say this the Lexi is a sealed case, so there's no end user replaceable batteries. Obviously, on most mods you can take your batteries in and out. So if you popped in a couple of batteries, reset your timer to 0, and then used it all day until the batteries died, you could look and see objectively that those batteries lasted you 18 minutes or whatever, and compare them to a different battery to objectively see which battery really works better in your mod. I think that's a pretty handy thing, pretty cool. To access the timer, you go to the X, and it's going to display 0 hours and 8 minutes. That means I've been vaping for 8 minutes since I last reset the timer. If I actually do want to reset the timer, I just go to the timer, and I hit the button. That gives me a prompt to clear, which I do, and now it's at 0 hours and 0 minutes, so the timer's been reset. You can also control the intensity of the screen by doing set display. Right now it's at 3. I can make it brighter, 4, still brighter, 5. It'll cycle back around to 1, which is quite dim. I usually keep it at 2 or 3. So now the brightness of the display is set at 3. The set LED function allows you to tell the unit how you want the LED and the LCD screen to operate. Right now, both things are going to light up when I hit the button to vape. Now only the LED will light up. Now only the display will light up, and of course you can mute. One of those that I skipped over was mute all of the activity altogether. So when you vape, it'll be silent, no flashing of anything. Next thing you can do is check the resistance of your atomizer. That's RA. As you can see, this is a 1.5 ohm HH357 atomizer. There's another function called overload, which basically you program in. If you exceed a certain number of minutes of vaping in a day, the device shuts off and you're not allowed to vape. Frankly, I'm too scared to even experiment with it, so I certainly have not. I have certainly not engaged this. What do they call it? I think overload. Yeah, overload. Yeah, as you can see, it is off and will stay that way permanently. No thanks. Lastly, you can check the firmware of your device. The firmware is version 1.70. There's another feature on the Lexi, and this is has actually nothing to do with the Nivel chip, but rather with the case that Mamu chose for the Lexi, enabled her to incorporate these features. As you can see, there's the button for vaping and accessing the menu, and then there's a little button down here. What that does is, with one click, allows you to have a different way to read your battery life. There's 3 LEDs here for low, medium, and high, so when you push it, it does that. When you double-click the button, here's what happens. channel's the Parliament Funkadelic. You can't beat that. So, just a few words about actually living with this device and using the menu system. It's clear to me, after using this for a while, just how much thought went into the menu system. It's difficult, I'm sure, even from the video that shows how to access all of the functions, it's difficult to convey just how much sense it makes. It just was very, very pleasantly surprised, not by the performance of the unit. I expected that to be good, but I'm very surprised at the level of thought that went into all of the functions and how the device is structured in terms of the menu system. If you're familiar with the ProVary, many but not all of the functions of this device are in the ProVary, but the menu system it's not bad, but it's certainly not thought out as well, even close to the level of this. It's really a joy to use this device and tell it what to do. Here's how to get one. Right now, there's only one to get. Like I said, Mamu and I will be giving one away, and that contest will be announced on Tuesday, July 24th at 9:00 p.m. on ClickBang. ClickBang is a talk radio show / podcast that deals with electronic cigarettes, freedom, and music. You don't have to listen to it live, as the show is available for replays. I'll post links in the description so that you know how to get it, whether it be listening live or as a replay. You will have a period of probably about 2 weeks to submit your entry to the contest. Again, stay tuned. This mod is not available for sale right now. If that fact changes, I will update you on ClickBang. I guess that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. Read reason.com and vote Libertarian.